వీళ్ళందరూ మాట్లాడినారు.
కానీ వాళ్ళు మాట్లాడేది just,
So the beneficiaries are not only the legion of graduates, but also the community of nations.
A glance at the career graph of Professor Ram Reddy very clearly shows that his contribution has been both fundamental and extensive.
This India, it has to lead and not follow, but it has to be an innovative India. The 21st century is going to be the century of knowledge. And indeed, nations which have developed mastery in the production of knowledge, its dissemination, its conversion to wealth and social good, and its protection, have assumed a leadership position in the world today.
Space through the Indian remote sensing satellites, Indian national satellites for communication, and a launch vehicle system, which really meets the total national needs. Several academic institutions are participating with the Indian Space Research Organization in developing cutting edge of technologies related to spacecrafts, all the launch vehicles or applications.
Distance mode perfected by IGNOU and being offered for every other subject. Therefore, taking account of the increasing demand for legal education, it will be important for IGNOU because it owes a responsibility to the society to convince the Bar Council, if necessary, the Government of India, and get on to professional legal education as I suggested.
But one does need interaction and one does need some way of going back and forth between the intimate and the cosmic. Ram Reddy spent so much of his passion and effort. He really created something fantastic and magnificent.
The cause of education so much, but to serve the purpose of national development. The education should be linked to the development process. The key role the education plays is often not recognized.
Time in 1985, when Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi inaugurated IGNOU, I was then a member of the Prime Minister's Secretariat. So I can recall the enthusiasm and the hope that was at that time associated with the setting up of this distance learning university.
Radio, which seemed to be dying, particularly in India, has been reborn with FM. Thanks in part, of course, to the traffic jams on our roads, but I think there are other reasons why it has come back into popularity. One part certainly is the content. We now have a new kind of radio which is far more interactive, it's chatty, it's conversational, it's interactive, and this undoubtedly helped bring about its revival.
Universities, not only Ayurveda, but all systems, all types of knowledge, including mathematics, metaphysics, they were all taught.
The state policy which states that the state shall take steps to organize village panchayats and endow them with such powers and authorities as may be necessary to enable them to function as unit of self-governance.
Which every university should be able to do virtual classes. We in JND University, Hyderabad, we experimented because remote areas, rural areas, shortage of power, lectures from the urban area, that will be more useful for them. That's why virtual classroom we need to put in every place so that students will be able to learn much better.
And one of the aspirations of Professor Ram Reddy was to take the education to unreached people, particularly workers, farmers, and common people.
Countries must achieve if they are to see sustainable economic development. Governments and policymakers in the Commonwealth seek to expand the reach of higher education and to cut costs. They are investing in open universities. No degree would cost roughly 1/3 of what it would take to put a graduate through a campus institution. If we look at this study from the National Knowledge Commission, the British Open University costs half of what a student would pay at a campus institution.
I was also struggling with the educational media research centers, which I later converted into education multimedia research center, what is happening. And somehow G. Ram Reddy
liked the way I was talking about the future of India. And that was all. I was a professor in physics, but on one day, I got a letter from the Minister of Human Resources saying that you have been appointed as a member of the commission. And it was a big shock to me.
I knew Professor Ram Reddy both as a friend of the family. He was a close associate of my father. In fact, one of the gentlemen in that film we just saw was my father. He was my first boss. As Vice Chancellor of the Usmania University, he gave me my first job as a lecturer in the Department of Economics.
Ram Reddy Garu happens to be our teacher. He was my role model. When I was studying my MA in Usmania University, he was on the faculty. And all his steps, his research, publications, building of the institutions, and his contribution multiple ways, that has really not only impressed us, motivated us, inspired us, and what I am today, certainly a major portion goes to him.
At the outset, I would like to pay my heartfelt tribute to the visionary man, Professor Ram Reddy, about his seminal contributions in the field of education, which has been elaborated in detail. What is the vision of education for New India? What kind of education we require? What kind of education this country requires?
You can see this institution, this kind of the institution. The entire world are taking a digital communication. You can talk here to your own. Every day you can talk to anyone, anywhere in the world. You can feel just you are talking just like talking to a teacher. And that has come now. But the person who thought the open distance learning will be possible in future, you might have not seen this progress of the technology, but you might have seen something else.
Thank you, Professor Uma Kanjilal and your entire team for showing this video. I would request our Vice Chancellor, Professor Nageshwar Rao sir, to invite Professor E. Vayunandan to deliver his address.
आदरणीय प्रोफेसर मेहता जी, प्रोफेसर वायुनंदन जी, प्रमिला रेड्डी जी एवं सभी। आदरणीय वायुनंदन जी वर्तमान में यशवंतराव चौहान ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी के कुलपति हैं और हमारे परिवार के ये सदस्य हैं। इंदिरा गांधी राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विश्वविद्यालय में ये न केवल शिक्षकों में लोकप्रिय हैं, बल्कि यहाँ पर कर्मचारी और जो रीजनल सेंटर्स में फैले हुए हमारे सभी क्षेत्रीय केंद्र के कार्यरत अधिकारी हैं, उनमें भी बहुत ही लोकप्रिय हैं। उनका मन बहुत अच्छा है और सबके लिए प्रेम है उनका। उन्होंने इस बीच में अपने विश्वविद्यालय में जो प्रयास किए हैं, उन्होंने आदरणीय राम रेड्डी जी को बहुत नज़दीक से देखा हुआ है। उनकी करुणा, उनके काम करने का तरीका, वो सब वहाँ पर अपने विश्वविद्यालय में वो कर पा रहे हैं और बहुत तेज़ी से अपने विश्वविद्यालय को आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं। इस विश्वविद्यालय में 2005 से वह प्रोफेसर के रूप में हैं। उनका विषय पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है, लेकिन विश्वविद्यालय के सभी कार्यकलापों में उनका बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा है। हम सबसे बहुत ही स्नेह रखते हैं। मैं बहुत ही विनम्रतापूर्वक उनसे निवेदन करता हूं कि वह हम सबको संबोधित करें और इस अवसर पर जो आदरणीय प्रोफेसर राम रेड्डी जी ने जो आदर्श, जो परिकल्पनाएं इस विश्वविद्यालय के बारे में सोची थी, अगर उसमें से कुछ जानकारी उनको है तो वह हम सबको साझा करें। आदरणीय प्रोफेसर वायुनंदन जी।
सर, प्रोफेसर नागेश्वर जी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। प्रोफेसर नागेश्वर जी, प्रोफेसर V.R. Mehta ji, the chief guest of this 25th Ram Reddy Memorial Lecture, Madam Srimati Primila Ram Reddy ji, Professor Satyakam, Dr. V.B. Negi, Registrar, Indra Gandhi National Open University, and my dear friend, Professor Satyakam, who is the chairman of this Professor G. Ram Reddy Memorial Lecture, K.B. Das ji, Pro White Chancellor, Professor R.P. Das, Pro White Chancellor, and Professor Ravinder Kanari ji, ex-Pro White Chancellor of IGNOU. For all the staff members of IGNOU at the headquarters, at the regional center, and also the participants. Namaskar. First of all, I again thank Professor Nageswara ji for giving this opportunity. It's a big honor being a distinguished guest in this 25th Memorial Lecture. Sir, और एक बार आपको मेरा धन्यवाद। सर, ये एक बड़ा, मैंने 21st मेमोरियल लेक्चर का चेयरमैन था, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग कमेटी से प्रोफेसर रविंद्र कुमार थे और संजय बारू जी चीफ गेस्ट थे। आज मैं 25th मेमोरियल लेक्चर पे मैं अभी एक डिस्टिंग्विश बनाना मेरे को बड़ा ऑनर है सर। मेरा, आई डोंट नो, आई एम इमोशनली attached, I don't know, with Professor Ram Reddy. It's very sentimental, also honor and privilege to talk about Professor late G. Ram Reddy. I have watched him closely as a student leader when I was a student at Osmania University, and also as an assistant, as a lecturer in Indra Gandhi National Open University. Sir, he is a very, multi-faceted personality. And such person I have never come across in my life. Even today, I start my office with taking blessings from him, then I start my office. That is the greatest, I don't know how I am emotionally. Sir, one of the greatest thing about him is institutional builder, which I will share few institutions which I know came across number of persons, and also because I understand even in my in our university to build a wall, a compound wall, it takes a lot of months, tenders, all. I don't know how person like G. Ram Reddy has started so many institutions. I really wonder how he has started. So few of the institution I will touch upon within my time, because many of the participants may not be knowing the things. So I wanted to, I start with, as an young professor, Professor Ram Reddy, I think he wanted to open the Indian Council of Social Science Research Regional Center at Hyderabad. You all know that regional center at Hyderabad, Southern Regional Center, no doubt you know that many of the southern states are very proactive, especially that time Tamil Nadu. So anything southern means it is Tamil Nadu. Chennai used to be, now no doubt that time it used to be Madras. But I don't know how he managed. I think that time, I think we have the famous person, educationist, Jayant Panduranga Naik, properly known as J.P. Naik. He was the founder, secretary of the, member secretary of the Indian Council of Social Science Research. And somehow he impressed J.P. Naik to start a Indian Council of Social Science Research, Southern Regional Center, Hyderabad. So one of the things it was told by J.P. Naik that the university should provide the space, then only we can set up. So Professor Reddy, as a young professor at that point of time, he convinced the White Chancellor, Ravada Satyanarayana, who was a Vice Chancellor and was not very fond of the Social Science Research Institute. Somehow he made him to agree. And that way, if you go across Usmania University, that regional center, Southern Regional Center was set up on the library building on the top floor. Complete floor is been given to ISSR Regional Center. And we have around 75 capacity conference hall, a big library, and one of the beautiful library for social science research. And equally, he pleaded with the next Vice Chancellor, that is, the famous, what we called the Ram Reddy, saying that, sir, we should also have a guest house. So he made that Vice Chancellor to agree to construct a guest house along with the Usmania University. So such was the, initiative. As a young professor, he was not holding any position. And J.P. Nayak and Chitra Nayak were very fond of Professor Ram Reddy. The way, his approach and his behavior. So that way, I think he impressed upon J.P. Nayak and started Indian Council of Social Science Research Southern. And he was the, no doubt, founder director of that Southern Regional Center, and also became chairman of that Regional Center. Later, at the end of his career, I think he became for a few months before he departed, that is, he became the chairman of Indian Council of Social Science in 1995 to some period, hardly 2 months. So that was his last assignment. So that was the convex. Even though he was not holding any position, he started this. The next very important is the Vice Chancellor as a Usmania University. Many people may not be knowing. I think we had 2 agitations in 71 to 75, Andhra agitation and Telangana agitation. An entire university system was destroyed because every student was involved. And there was some time the Usmania University was known for, there were at times the degree from Usmania University were not recognized by any institutions and the organization. So I think it was Jalgam Vengal Rao who brought the famous Justice Pingal Jagannath Reddy. No doubt he restored the academic excellence of Usmania, but being a justice, not that academic, maybe. After his demuting, I think the Chief Minister Jalgam Vengal Rao thought that there should be a Vice Chancellor who had to carry forward. I think that time the in-charge Vice Chancellor was the senior most bureaucrat, BPR Vittal. I think last week only he has passed away. And he was the in-charge Vice Chancellor, holding as a Secretary Finance as well as the in-charge. So he was told by the then Chief Minister Jalgam Vengal Rao to find out a suitable person who can take forward this Usmania University. And I think BPR Vittal personally told me that when I met for him in regarding Ram Reddy, he told that he met all the factions in Usmania University and he found consensus in Ram Reddy's name. So he told Jalgam Vengal Rao, sir, he is the person we can appoint him Vice Chancellor. Then someone who was sitting with Jalgam Vengal Rao told him, sir, is too young to be a Vice Chancellor. Then I think it was BPR Vittal who said, no, sir, V.R.K. Rao also become at that same age as a Delhi University Vice Chancellor. I think there is no harm in appointing as the Vice Chancellor. And Vengal Rao told him that immediately appoint him as a Vice Chancellor. Then BPR Vittal told him, not, sir, I am a Finance Secretary. It is the duty of the Educational Secretary. So that is how Ram Reddy became the Vice Chancellor, a consensus candidate to be Vice Chancellor in Usmania University. So that was the great, which I think he started his career as a Vice Chancellor, as a young, Vice Chancellor around 47 and 48 years. Then another very important thing which we come across, I think, is the Center for Economic and Social Studies. I think our IGNOU Regional Center for some time was there in that center. So when you ask for how this center, because BPR Vittal being an economics background, and he told Professor Reddy that we should start a Center for Economic and Social Studies in the lines of one from Chennai, which was started by the Malcolm Adiseshaya, known as Madras Institute of Development Studies, other by V.K. R.V. Rao, started in Bangalore, known as Institute for Social and Economic Change. So these are the basically think tank for helping the state as well as also evaluating the state schemes. So this idea came up, and Professor Reddy and BPR Vittal thought that we should convince the present chief minister so that we can set up this. And there should be also a space which should be told to the White Chancellor, the chief minister. And that time, the chief minister was Mari Channa Reddy, Dr. Mari Channa Reddy. I hope V.R. Mehtaji bhi also will remember him, because I think when he was the Vice Chancellor of Jodhpur University, I think the Chancellor was Mari Channa Reddy. I can understand. So convincing the Channa Reddy is a very difficult task. You all know that his style of functioning is different. But still, they discussed that a team will go to Channa Reddy and convince him to set up this institution. So, and the team decided that BPR Vittal will discuss with the Channa Reddy, because he is a finance secretary, is known to Channa Reddy very well. When they met the Channa Reddy, BPR Vittal did not say anything and put forward Ram Reddy to talk to him. Ram Reddy was little puzzled and he was not prepared, but still he told him that, sir, there are two institutions which were started in the neighboring states, Chennai, Madras, by Malcolm Adiseshaya, and Bangalore by V.R.K.R.V. Rao. So, sir, this will help our state as a think tank in policy matters, and it will also help us in, evaluating the schemes. And without any hesitation, I think he asked where will be the we will set up. He told that Osmania University has a land in Amirpet where there is a human genetics institution. There's a lot of space there. We can have it. So immediately, then he said, what is the financial obligation? He said, sir, initially it will be 15 lakhs for 1 year. After that, it will be self-sustaining. So that is how, without any, discussion, I think he sanctioned it. So BPR Vittal, who came out of the room, was told the Ram Reddy and his team, I never expected that Channa Reddy will normally accept it. So that is how the Center for Economic and Social Studies was started in the university, Osmania University campus, which was situated in Amirpet. I, as a student leader, I opposed that, and we went on for hesitation also. But later, in the same institution, I served as an academic associate in Indra Gandhi National University. So this is another example of Professor Ram Reddy. How he can convince the people. That was the greatest, of him. The other very important thing about was the Andhra Pradesh Open University, which is known as B.R. Ambedkar Open University. So see that when the university bill was passed, the chief minister was Bhavanam Venkatraman, and once the bill was passed, he demitted office. Another chief minister came, that is the Vijay Bhaskar Reddy, and he appointed him as the Vice Chancellor. Then suddenly the elections were declared, and the N.T. Ramarao came into power, and everyone thought that this university will not see the light. And everyone was of opinion that this university, because it is the baby of Congress party, so it will not go forward. So, but the mission was given to Ram Reddy to convince N.T. Ramarao about the importance of Open University. I think you all know that. Maybe many of you not know that N.T. Ramarao was, is a different person, very kind, more than Channa Reddy. So, but Professor Reddy alone went to him and convinced him. And within 15 minutes, Chief Minister N.T. Ramarao, who just took over as Chief Minister, he was so convinced. He said, brother, you go forward. I think this university will be the role model for entire India. So that same thing now, I think that became a role model, and everywhere, every state has opened the Open University. So this is, see, the chief ministers, three chief ministers. So that was the greatest convincing ability Professor Reddy has. So even as a student leader, we used to go to him, and he was very important issue, critical issue, but he will simply say, don't worry, we'll look for. So that was the greatest, which we see under him. And no doubt after that, he went to, IGNOU, and you all know that IGNOU was set up. I need not tell about that. Then he became the chairman of UGC after, COL. COL also, I think that was a great, and when we invited to our first convocation, at that time, the Commonwealth Secretary General, Ramphal, he said that this person should not be confined to India. We need for him for African countries. African country needs a mass education. A person like him, because every African country was involved in, struggle in colonial, fighting against colonial. So we want this person. So that is how he took him for the civil war. Professor Reddy was not at all interested, but he has to go because of that which he thought that the mass education should be provided. So that is what, and after a few, I think he back as a chairman. And one of the greatest contribution of the UGC was the NAC establishment. I think it was his, which I think the new education, that time National Policy and Education 1986, the program of action it was 1992, which made to establishment of NAC in his period as a chairman. It was established in 1994. So this is what I think, and he helped even Bangladesh Open University to be set up. And now you know that very popular now Bangladesh Open University. So this is what I think is the greatest institutional builder. So as a Vice Chancellor sitting in the chair, it is so difficult to, to run the already established university to build up a new infrastructure, and a person building so many institutions, it's a really great. So one thing one day he told me, when the Panchayat Raj bill was passed, amendment bill which was passed, the Act 1992, 73rd and 74, he said, see, two things which near my heart. One is Panchayat Raj. People used to laugh at Ram Reddy के पास जा रहे क्या वो PhD पंचायत राज में करेंगे, दूसरा जगह रह नहीं रहता उनको पूरा पंचायती राज. So other is distance education. He said Panchayat Raj 73rd, 74th amendment, which we said it brought a rural government, administration at doorsteps. In the same way, ODL has brought education at doorsteps. These two things which I think it is a very satisfying, which I feel. One is Panchayati Raj through 73rd and 74th amendment. No doubt 74th is for urban local government, and the other is ODL. Today, yes, the COVID situation, you all know that. Now people are saying the only hope is blended approach. We all know that we started this ODL. What we said, it is nothing but using of multimedia. What is multimedia? Print material integrated with audio, video cassettes. Then we jump to bandwidth provided by ISRO. Today, we are coming with online. So now COVID has shown entire world blended approach. So which is the vision of Professor Ram Reddy. So that way, I think it's a great, honor for me for this, on this occasion. I once again thank Professor Ram Reddy, Professor Nageshwaraji for giving this opportunity. So I shared few things. Now I hope V.R. Mehtaji will, talk on the issue which is the real part of this lecture. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Satyakam. Thank you once again, Nageshwaraji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor E. Vayanandan, sir, for taking time out to be with us, motivate us, and inspire us. May I now request our Vice Chancellor again to invite and introduce our Chief Guest and Speaker, Professor V.R. Mehta.
It's an honor for me to invite Professor V.R. Mehta to deliver the Ram Reddy Memorial Lecture that is on online education in the age of the pandemic. Before I invite him, I would like to share his brief credentials before all of you. Professor V.R. Mehta is the chief mentor of the Foundation for Academic Excellence and Access. It was set up by him in the year 2001. The foundation has provided support in the form of scholarships to around 1,800 students. It has also fostered partnership with 22 colleges and partner colleges all over the country for soft skills development of the marginalized students. Born on 19th August 44, he was earlier Vice Chancellor of University of Delhi. He was also Vice Chairman of the Executive Committee of Nehru Memorial Museum and Library. Professor Mehta was educated at the universities of Delhi and Cambridge. He began his academic career as a lecturer in the political science in Delhi, later appointed associate professor at Himachal Pradesh University, where he became a professor at a very young age of. He also became Dean Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences and a member of the Executive Council of the Himachal Pradesh Open University. Professor Mehta was the first Vice Chancellor of Kota Open University from 1987 to 1990. He was also Vice Chancellor of Jodhpur University from 91 to 93. Professor Mehta was the Vice President of International Association of University Presidents and Chair of the South Asian Council. He was also a member of the Governing Board of the Association of Universities of Asia and Pacific Region, and also of the Association of Southeast Asian Institutions of Higher Learning during the same period. Widely traveled, Professor Mehta was a Commonwealth Scholar at Cambridge, Commonwealth Academic Staff Fellow at the Institute of Commonwealth Studies, Oxford, International Visitor to the American Universities, Shastri Visiting Professor at the University of Calgary, Canada, and Visitor to the Open University, UK in 1988. He was also a member of the Government of India delegation to the intellectual meet in the USSR, which was organized as a part of the Festival of India. Japan Foundation invited him to visit Japan for a short term under its International Cultural Exchange Program in 87. He authored 5 books, 3 of which have been widely reviewed and praised all over the world. Professor Mehta was awarded the V.K. R.V. Rao Award for the outstanding contribution to political science for the year 1983. Swami Pranavanand Award by the University Grants Commission for the year 1989. Gandhi Sadbhavana Award 1995. Bharat Vikas Excellent Award 1996 by Council for National Development, New Delhi. Dr. Ambedkar Distinguished Services Award by Bharati Dalit Sahitya Academy. Soka University, Japan has honored Professor Mehta with Soka University's award of highest honor and medal. He was also awarded School of Oriental Philosophy Scholarly Achievement Award by the same university. Professor Mehta was also the president of Delhi Anuvrat Samiti during 1996-98. He was also awarded Dalit Honoris Causa by Bundelkhand University in 2002 and Vardhaman Mahavir Open University Kota 2007. These credentials, they really speak a lot about him, but as a person, he is the most simple and humble person. When I made a request to him on telephone, without any hesitation, he immediately agreed. During these COVID times, it's very difficult for him to prepare the things and again present it. But because of his love and affection towards Professor G. Ram Reddy, he has kindly consented. And I humbly request him to enlighten all of us by his scholarly presentation. Professor V.R. Mehta.
Honorable Vice Chancellor of Indra Gandhi National University, Sir Nageshwara, Madam Pamela Reddy, my colleagues in Indra Gandhi National Open University. I still regard myself as a part of Open University fraternity. And other distinguished participants present here today. It is a great honor and privilege for me to deliver this 25th Professor Ram Reddy Memorial Lecture. Professor Ram Reddy was a great, not only a great educationist, but also a great educational reformer. He combined both the roles remarkably well. I have a very fond recollection of my long association with him. First, as Professor of Political Science, fellow Professor of Political Science. Then, as Vice Chancellor of Kota Open University when he was Vice Chancellor of IGNOU. Then, as Vice Chancellor of Jodhpur University when he was Chairperson, UGC. Ram Reddy had a unique personality. And as has been pointed out by my earlier speakers, he was really a great man in every respect. I remember our frequent meetings when he was Vice Chancellor at IGNOU and I was Vice Chancellor at Kota. On certain topics, on certain issues, we had very sharp differences, particularly on the role of Indra Gandhi National University as an institute, as a university, and also as a regulator for other open universities. In one of the meetings, I still very vividly remember at Oscars, we had sharp exchange. Education Secretary was also present. But immediately after the meeting, Professor Ram Reddy came to me, put his hands on my shoulder, and said, Mehtaji, you're right. I appreciate what you said, but Open University system is fighting for its legitimacy. And I cannot think of any other dispensation which can protect the legitimacy of the institution and promote it further. In any other dispensation, Open University will take a back seat. I would see his commitment to the open system. And it was largely because of his commitment that Indra Gandhi National Open University was set up. And along with Indra Gandhi National Open University, a number of state universities were also set up dedicated to open education. In those days, open system was really fighting for its legitimacy. I remember my first days at Kota Open University. When I went there, there was an agitation against the Open University. People wanted a general university. I remember I went to one of the very influential citizens of Kota, requesting him for his mention. We wanted to rent out a building for the university. And his immediate response was, Professor Mehta, you are setting up an open university while you need a building. This was the kind of response open university system is used to receive throughout the country. There are a lot of misgivings about the value of the system, the relevance of the system, and much credit goes to Professor Ram Reddy that the open university system acquired legitimacy and open university degrees acquired acceptability throughout the country. In fact, I cannot think of any other person in the field of higher education who was so passionately committed to the idea. And I would not hesitate to call him as father of open learning in the country. It was largely due to his efforts that Indra Gandhi Open University was set up. And today you can see the shape that it has taken. It was largely due to his commitment and efforts that state universities were set up. And wherever there was any need for help, he provided that help. People who have spoken earlier have highlighted his remarkable humility, a combination of humility and scholarship. I can vouch that I have not come across academicians of his caliber who combined in themselves great humility with great scholarship. We had, as I said, we had certain differences, but he did not allow those differences to mar our relationship. In fact, I could always depend upon him for his help, assistance, and even patronage. And he always made us look taller, the hallmark of a truly great man. Today, distance education is a settled mode of education. It has developed its own institutional mechanism, its own pedagogy, and it is accepted all over the world. It has developed a delivery system, online delivery system, developed its own pedagogy, and through institutional mechanisms of regional centers and study centers and TV and radio, it has been able to reach out to millions of people. Professor Ram Reddy wanted to take education of the classes to the masses, and Open University system has made it possible to take this, to ensure that education is taken to the farmers, the workers, those who cannot take advantage of education because of lack of means or for certain other reasons. Today, millions are enrolled in the open, millions have benefited from the Open University system, and for this, great credit goes to Professor Ram Reddy. I bow my head in reverence to him for whatever he did in the field of open education. Now, the topic that I've chosen today is in the context of the crisis that we are facing, the crisis of pandemic. It's a unique situation. Nature, it seems, is out to take revenge upon ourselves. Man thought, in his arrogance, thought that he could conquer nature. But a small virus has shown us our place in the cosmos. There have been epidemics and other great calamities earlier, but this calamity is unique insofar as it has spread its tentacles all over the world. We do not know its cause. We also do not know its remedy. And it has created a unique situation in which we are supposed to maintain distance. We are supposed to wear masks. It has imposed upon us a new set of behavior which we should follow. It has caused huge disruption in our life. And naturally, educational institutions have not been able to escape its adverse impact. It is estimated that around 340 million students are back home because of this. Universities and colleges and institutions have been closed here in this country and all over the world, especially in Europe and America. This situation has led us to ask or raise new questions. What kind of education is relevant? What kind of educational system is relevant in a situation like this? One answer is that distance education is important. It can deliver and it can help us in reaching out to the millions. There is absolutely no doubt about it. But when I think deeply about it, the whole thing, I have one feeling that distance education as we know it is important, but it needs to take into account the new circumstances so that we are able to deliver education in a far more effective way and create a system in which good education is possible. The students are back at home. They have been attending classes. They are back home. They need a kind of education which will compete with education in actual education in universities and colleges which they have been attending. Many institutions in India, like IITs, Bombay, Delhi, they've already announced that the next semester will be online. Universities across the globe, whether it is Harvard or Princeton or Stanford or Yale, they've also declared that education next semester, or maybe perhaps next year, is still undecided, will be online. So what kind of educational system should we have which can deliver knowledge to its participants effectively? Of course, it is distance education, but it's distance education which will make maximum use of technology. We are today in the realm where new technological tools are available to us. whether it is in terms of digital technology, in terms of internet, in terms of MOOC, in terms of what is known as Zoom. I'm not very conversant with the latest technology. In fact, I must confess I'm technologically backward. But from whatever information I've been able to gather, I've been told that it is possible to replicate the atmosphere in the classes at home and give relevant education to the students. Now, what kind of education we are looking for? See, in the case of open system, you've been catering to students through printed material, to TV, to radio, and there's been interaction has been taking place with the students at study centers, research centers. But now, in the atmosphere of pandemic, regional centers, study centers, access to these centers are not possible. That kind of system is relevant, but perhaps is not functional at the moment. So what kind of system should we have so that we give good education to students? Whenever I think of good education, I think there are three things which education should cater to. Three objectives which education should cater to. Number one, acculturation of students. Number two, practical and theoretical knowledge, which will make students' life relevant to society and give them self-confidence. And third, development of an analytical and critical spirit. Now let us see how can we provide good education to students so that all these three objectives are met in the age of pandemic. Let's begin with acculturation of students. One of the great objectives of the traditional conventional education is to socialize or initiate the students in the culture and civilization of society. When students meet on the campuses, whether schools or colleges or universities, they begin to share in each other's dreams and anxieties. They begin to share in each other's hopes. And we develop a community life. In the age of pandemic, when we are supposed to put on masks, when we are supposed to keep social distance, and when we are supposed to adhere to various other kinds of social norms and behavior, where interaction, personal interaction is not possible, how do we create that sense of community through education? It's a big challenge, and educationists will have to find an answer, whether it is in terms of group learning, in terms of individual learning, into a close interaction between teachers and students, but we'll have to find a method through modern technology so that this interaction is possible. See, one of the great tragedies or great issue that is facing us is that when these students are located at remote places, isolated places, distant from each other, how do we enable them to communicate with each other, to develop a fellowship of hopes and aspirations, and enable them to create a sense of community? That's a big challenge, and we'll have to find an answer to it. Can we devise a system through technology so that group life is possible? I'm not sure, but I'm sure technologists will be able to find a solution to this. The second important function to my mind, or objectives of education, is skill development, so that students are able to enter professions, they're able to get gainful employment, and they're able to make both ends meet in society. They can be leaders, they can be civil servants, they can be educationists, but they all need skills of certain kinds, relevant kind. I still remember my early association with Maharashtra Open University when Professor Takwale was Vice Chancellor. I went there and I was quite impressed by the efforts Professor Takwale was making to take technology to various classes, especially at the lower level. There was an impression that Maharashtra Open University at that time was functioning as a perfect polytechnic for these classes of people. Afterwards, we have seen open universities starting courses of different kinds, ranging from business administration to hotel management, and giving a type of training which is relevant to society and which will make students employable or equip them for various professions in society. Today, the question is, how do we ensure that these tools are spread all over the country in remote isolated places, get this kind of education? One important thing that has to be remembered is that technology is not available to all. There are huge inequalities in our society. It has been a great achievement of Indian education system that it has brought into mainstream all those who were on the periphery through a system of reservations or through right to education. But when these students spread all over the country, in remote isolated places, how do we bring them together and how do we reach them? Yes, technologically it is possible. We have digital technology available today in terms of MOOCs and other things, in terms of MOOCs, internet, and smartphones, and other things. But the question is, are these facilities available to our students? There has been phenomenal rise in use of smartphones in the country. But the question is, who will use this smartphone, whether the father who is doing a job, or a brother, or a sister? I am heading an NGO today which looks after the education of the poorest of the poor and yet the brightest students. When Professor Nageshwar Rao ordered me to deliver this lecture, I approached 25 of our best students who are studying in IITs and institutions of national importance, asking them for their opinion whether online education is relevant and whether whether we should have it immediately. The response I got is like this: they're all excited about the idea. They think that online education is a good idea. But then the question that they are raising is, how do we access it? In fact, the brother and sister thing that I've said, one of the students reacted by saying this, that we have one smartphone. I can use it only when my sister is not using it. Another student, a student of IIT has said, sir, why bother about these things? Try to create a system which evaluates us in terms of whatever we have. Yes, I know that technology is far advanced. I know that we can create structures at the central level which will deliver lectures, which will create a new system of assessment, which will create a new pedagogy. But the important question which needs to be tackled is, how do we reach the farthest reaches of periphery? How do we make available this kind of education through modern technology, through every student? I think here is a big challenge to which universities and educationists will have to cater to. Then the second question that needs to be asked here is, are our teachers equipped enough to handle a situation like this? Online education requires a different set of textbooks, requires a different kind of syllabi, requires a different kind of pedagogy to be able to deliver effective education to students. When a student sits in front of a computer and when teacher tries to communicate through internet, through computer, it requires a different kind of communication ability, which perhaps even the best of our teachers lack today. They need to be trained. How do we train them? How do we create a mechanism of training so that these teachers are able to communicate with the students effectively through modern technology in terms of new syllabi, in terms of new system of assessment, in terms of new interpersonal relationships? One great advantage of modern technology is that it has developed almost all the instrumentalities that are required, all the capabilities that are required. But educationists will have to sit down and create new mechanisms to virtual training schools, virtual learning schools, create material which students can use in these times of crisis. Then there's a further question. Most of the students live in small spaces, 1 room, 2 rooms. Their parents do not have capability to support them in their education. Here again, I think is an important problem which we'll have to respond to. The third objective of education, as I said, is development of analytical and critical thinking. The great merit of offline education is that there is a very intimate interaction between the student and the teacher. I've seen great teachers saying, don't bother about the university administration or the government or anything else. So long as my students are there, I'm happy. So long as this interaction takes place, it's a personal interaction. It's like performing a havan, which is so intimate between those who perform havan and for those who are performed havan. In the open system, how do we create that kind of, how do we replicate this environment? I know that virtual classes can be held. I know that virtual lectures can be delivered. I know that virtual experiments can be done. Modern technology has made great strides in these areas. And the success of Indra Gandhi and other open universities is a great indication of the fact that all this is possible. After all, Indra Gandhi National Open University is delivering professional courses through open education, and people are taking advantage of it. There's a perennial problem of education in the field of open education, in the field of science, technology, engineering, and medical, especially engineering and medical. But I'm confident that with the technological advances of modern times, even virtual classes and virtual experiments are possible. And it will not take much time for us to create a situation in which even engineering and medical education can be imparted through open education, especially online education. But educationists will have to sit down and create kind of technology which is useful in such circumstances. One major problem here is that this use of technology will require a new set of agreements and protocols between the student and the team and the system, students, teacher, and the system. Especially user protocols. Technology can be used and can be marketed by anyone. How do we safeguard the privacy of the students, the privacy of the teacher, the rights of the students, the rights of teachers in some circumstances? We'll have to answer this question. Then secondly, there's a whole question of state surveillance. Today, with the help of technology, state can penetrate into each and every aspect of our life. How do we safeguard the privacy of the students, the rights of students and teachers in such an atmosphere, so that no one is able to take advantage of it? Everything can be hacked, everything can be marketed, and everything can be controlled. We'll have to create new kinds of protocols, new kinds of user agreements, so that this kind of thing is possible. Students are anxiety-free, teachers are anxiety-free. Then there's another problem which we'll have to tackle in such a situation, and that is how do we ensure? You see, as I said, one of the great functions of education is development of an analytical and critical spirit. Education is no education unless it inspires you to innovate, it inspires you to create, it inspires you to reach out to new horizons. One great merit of offline education is that it makes it possible that you are able to transcend yourself and connect yourself to deeper layers of consciousness. Will it be possible to create this kind of atmosphere through open system and especially through online education? It's a big challenge to which we'll have to respond creatively, effectively. One suggestion is that classroom atmosphere has to be replicated. We have to work in terms of flexibility. We have to work in terms of multiple points of social contact. We have to work in terms of our concern for greater innovation, greater creativity. I know that conventional system is not perfect. I know that in India it is far from perfect. I know that in India buildings, university buildings are far more important than university education. But I also know that we have a system in which brilliant students have the opportunity to create, to innovate, and to search out for new partners. It's a challenge which open system and especially online education will have to meet. So I must say that online education has created great opportunities for us. We are facing an unprecedented situation today. And in this situation, open education through online is a great hope. I am familiar with the online lectures conducted by universities of Yale, universities of Stanford, universities of Harvard. Those lectures are enormously popular. And they give us hope that yes, nothing is lost. Even in the age of pandemic, through online education, we can impart good education to students. But as I said earlier, we'll have to rethink about our syllabi. We'll have to rethink about the examination system. We'll have to connect new technology to new human aspirations. We'll have to find a balance between students' life at home and new technology and create an atmosphere of sense and create an atmosphere of sympathy or empathy in which students, teachers, and educational administration, they are all sympathetic to each other. Will require a new kind of governance in the university system. In fact, when the issue of governance comes, there is a fear that some of the less known universities will go out of existence because students would like to enroll themselves to the best universities. They will like to listen to the best teachers all over the world. And one great advantage of distance education is that you are able to access to the lectures of best teachers, whether it's your university or other universities or the best universities in the world. So there is a fear that tuition-based universities will go out and universities with large endowments or with great support will survive. But be that as it may, the important thing is that we have to create a big balance between technology and the needs of students, make the system more sensitive, more humanized, more holistic, so that students do not feel the stress of modern education. The pandemic situation pandemic has created great anxiety and fear in our minds. I'm sure that we'll be able to find out some method to ensure that students are anxiety free. I've referred to governance in the universities, yes, governance will have to change. We'll have to create mechanisms to reach out to students, but we also require support, active support of the government for this, in terms of budget, in terms of making available modern equipment, especially laptops or iPads or whatever, I don't know, to students. We also require a loan scheme so that students can take advantage of modern technology for their education. Now, how this will be done, this remains to be seen. Lastly, one who has lived most of his life in conventional education. I'm not very sure whether online education can be a complete substitute for conventional education. But it's always better to travel in hope than to rest with despair. Ram Reddy Sahib used to say that every offline education, every university has to become open university, and every open university has to imbibe some characteristics of a traditional university. Online education requires a new frontier. नए चिराग की खोज में पहले सत्यकाम नए चिराग की खोज में हमको चलना है, and I'm sure under leadership of Professor Nageshwar Rao, Indra Gandhi will try to develop a new system of structures and new pedagogy, which will provide more equitable, more holistic online education to students all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for enlightening us and guiding us to face challenges that comes in the way of imparting education. Thank you once again for being with us today. I would now request our Vice Chancellor, Professor Nageshwar Rao, sir, for his presidential address, please.
Every word which Professor Mehta has spoken to all of us is to be remembered by all of us. The way he articulated the process of transition or the need for this online education in the present context of pandemic, that is very, very important. And he has also talked about the cautions and also the concerns in this context. Before I say a few words on this occasion, first of all, I must pay my sincere tributes to Professor G. Ram Reddy, who is the founder, Vice Chancellor of this great university, and also the father of distance education, not only in India, but all over the globe also. I am also thankful to Professor Mehta ji, who is very kind enough to give us food for thought by delivering this useful and quite relevant contents. At this age, he initially agreed, and then even yesterday when I spoke to him, he said, "Don't worry, I am there." That has built me a lot of confidence. I am thankful to Professor Vayanandan ji. For him, I have to say only one word: please be with us. And he said yes. That is the kind of support which I got from him. My special respectful regards to Pramila Reddy ji, who always encouraged my submissions to her, especially when I said that I am going to have this memorial lecture on 2nd of July. She was feeling that under this COVID-19 situation, how this can be organized. She was quite supportive to all of us, and we all are indebted to her personally. When this concept was conceived to have these memorial lectures in the name of Professor G. Ram Reddy, we have started looking at the treasure which is with us. And the treasure is in the form of 24 lectures, which are delivered by eminent persons. And these people, in different points of time, they have given us a roadmap that how this open and distance education can move. One of the speakers has talked about its extension to engineering programs, legals, agriculture, everywhere we can go for it. And we were doing it also. So this has given the visualization of those great people during this last 24 years. And what I thought is, and what we thought here is, that can we connect these ideas at one place? And therefore, initially, we brought a video book of 24 lectures which were delivered in the memory of Professor G. Ram Reddy. How they visualized this distance education since 1996 to 2020, and how this visualization can be implemented. So enabling part is also very, very important. The use of technology, how the people, they can be trained to this new requirements of this learning. Of course, some of the videos, they were very old. And we are going to release all these sets of videos on our Facebook, and this video book would also be circulated to all, so that the policymakers and planners, they can think that how we have moved from the open and distance learning mode to this online education. And this idea has come to me once Professor Mehta has told that he would like to speak on online education. So that is ODL to online. This journey is from ODL to online. And if you look at the basics of ODL, which Professor G. Ram Reddy has visualized way back in 87 or in 85 also, the 4 pillars, the content, videos in place of teacher, the counseling in terms of mentoring, and fourthly, the evaluation. And when I speak, when I get the interaction from the experts today, they said that in online courses, you have to look at 4 things: content, videos, mentoring, and evaluation. The same thing is there. They call it now 4-quadrant approach, which was envisioned long back in our ODL system and is being implemented. So therefore, this envisioning process of our great thinkers, people who have contributed with their words of wisdom during the last 24 years. That has given us a clear path. And that is why when this transformation was going on, our ODL people, they are the first one to take up this challenge. It was not a challenge for them. It is a routine activity for them. During this COVID-19 period, maybe I think from April 15 onwards, all my faculty members, all my people who are working at the regional centers, they started working. Instead of face-to-face counseling, they have gone for online counseling. They have gone for Facebook counseling. And I got the schedules which says that on a single day, all over the country, they have fixed up 500 counseling sessions. And every day I'm getting that schedules also. So it is not at headquarters. It is being spread all over the country. It is not the story of IGNOU. It is the story of all open universities which are functioning in the country. Facebook has become very, very popular. 2,000, 4,000, 6,000. I have not said a single teacher to come for the Facebook presentation of their lectures. Come to Janwani to deliver their thoughts, share their thoughts. But during this COVID-19 period, I am finding that no Facebook slot is free, no Janwani slot is free for the teachers. Teachers are still in the waiting line to finish up those things which they want to interact with the learners. It is the self-motivation of all the people who are concerned in this endeavor. And we find that, especially in the ODL system, the extent of self-motivation is much, much more than we find elsewhere in other education systems. In March 2020, we got exemption from the online regulations. The COVID-19, it has come up. Before that, we were having only 3 online programs. Everything is closed during this period. But for teachers, they came forward. And 12 more online courses they were launched. And the person who was willing to come forward, he is going to retire in this month. But he is very enthusiastic, Professor D. Gopal, to launch his course on MA in Gandhian Studies. School of Humility to launch a course in MA in Hindi. Never visualized that Hindi people, they would start thinking in terms of online education. PA Tourism, certificate in Library and Information Science, certificate in IT, Agriculture, so many areas. Tribal Studies, we are having 15 courses now online. So what it conveys, and one more thing regarding our Swayam platform, for which earlier we were having only 20 courses during the last 3 years. During this period of COVID-19, we could go for 44 new courses. And the response of the learners in our country, that during this month of June, 40,000 learners, they have already enrolled to these courses. 40,000 learners. And each individual teacher is trying to have their videos prepared. EMPC has come forward in a big way. Center for Online Learning has come up in a big way. And this movement towards online education, it is a spontaneous process of this entire ODL activity. Even the government of India is also thinking that there are two regulations earlier, ODL regulations 2017 and the online regulations 2018. They're in the process of integrating it. The integrated regulation is already being submitted to the UGC, and they have yet to announce it because the legal vetting, etc., they have to take place other things. So people are enthusiastic, learners are enthusiastic. The response of the learners through Facebook interactions, through Gyanvani, Gyandarshan, our viewership, it has increased. Swayam Prabha channels, we are having 33 Swayam Prabha channels by the government of India. And out of those 34, 12 recently they have been earmarked for the class 1 to class 12. Now class 1 student will go for online education, free education, TV education. Teacher will be present, visible through this videos, through this digital media. So digital movement has come up in a big way. E-reservoirs have come up in a big way. Every institute is also having the e-reservoir. MHRD is also having a big portal, having all the e-contents of relevant courses. Besides this, during the period of last 6 to 7 months, we have gone for honors courses. 9 honors courses they were launched in January 2020. And all these honors courses, they were very popular. BA Economics honors, BCom, BA Hindi honors, BA English honors, BA History honors, BA Political Science honors, BA Public Administration honors. So we see that honors courses have become very, very popular. 9 courses they were launched. Recently, we have gone for, during this COVID-19 period, MA Sanskrit, which was not with us in IGNOU. During this COVID-19, our people, they have come forward with the proposal to launch MA Sanskrit, quite popular. And there was a national need and national also to have this sort of program. And we were trying for it, and ultimately we could have it. So there is a zeal, and specifically during this COVID-19 period, we have found that our own people, they are moving forward in a big way. The response of the learners, that is also encouraging. And that enthusiasm amongst the real trainers, it has also come up in a big way. Our own people, they started training their other colleagues in this technological area. We have got 2 training centers to train our own teachers, and they're also coming forward. EMPC is working 24 hours. Gyandarshan is reaching to people all over the country. 12 hours content, and it is repeated 12 hours again. Swayam Prabha channel, 4 hours content, it is repeated 6 times. Even some of these courses, they are being translated into 8 languages. That is what the government of India is aiming for. So once 8 languages will be there, the reach to all those people to whom right now we are not in a position to interact, or for whom the teaching, the learning may not be easier. So we are reaching to them with their regional contents, language, the contents translated into regional languages. So there is a movement, and therefore the 25 lectures which we are getting on this great occasion, Silver Jubilee year of this G. Ram Reddy Memorial Lecture, it's a great treasure to all of us. And I must compliment my whole team, the people who are in the field of open and distance learning, because I am not representing IGNOU, I am representing the ODL fraternity, all the open universities, all distance education institutions, and all the people who are working in that. because they all work in the same spirit. Because we reach to our learners at a very, very low cost. We reach to the disadvantaged groups of the society. We reach to the doorsteps of the learners. We are reaching to the unreached. And that is the philosophy, that is the... And we cherish all these things from the basics of Professor G. Ram Reddy, the person who motivated all of us, our own faculty, our own teachers, our own institutions, and the spirit which we got from him. This is the biggest treasury which is all of us. I thank again Honorable Mehtaji, who is kind enough to be with us, to give us blessings also, and his words of wisdom. They're very kind to us. Professor Vayunandan, very affectionate to all of us, very kind to all of us, and always helpful to all of us. I am also thankful to him. And Mrs. Ramila Reddy ji, she is present from 11 a.m., continuously sitting at one place and motivating all of us. She is a spirit behind this entire activities. She always supports these endeavors. And in all the memorial lectures, she has spared her valuable time for us, and thereby the spirit learning in IGNOU, it has continued during this long period. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the encouragement. अब मैं हमारे कुलसचिव डॉक्टर विद्या भगत नेगी जी से अनुरोध करती हूँ कि वे धन्यवाद ज्ञापन करें।
सर्वप्रथम मैं अपने माननीय कुलपति महोदय का धन्यवाद करता हूं, जिनके मार्गदर्शन में वर्चुअल मोड में हमारा ये आयोजन संभव हो सका। तत्पश्चात मैं आज के हमारे मुख्य अतिथि प्रोफेसर VR मेहता जी के प्रति अपनी हार्दिक कृतज्ञता ज्ञापित करता हूं, जिन्होंने अपने व्याख्यान से हमारे विश्वविद्यालय का गौरव बढ़ाया। इसके उपरांत मैं अपने आज के विशिष्ट अतिथि प्रोफेसर E. वायुनंदन जी का धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं, जिन्होंने इस व्याख्यान माला में अपने उद्बोधन के माध्यम से हम सभी को का मार्ग प्रशस्त किया। साथ ही मैं अपने सभी समकुलपतियों, विदूषक गणों एवं HODs का भी धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं, जिन्होंने इस कार्यक्रम में जुड़कर कार्यक्रम की शोभा बढ़ाई। मैं विश्वविद्यालय के अपने सभी तकनीकी स्टाफ का भी हार्दिक धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं, जिनके तकनीकी सहयोग के बगैर इस व्याख्यान माला का आयोजन करना संभव नहीं हो पाता। और अंत में मैं विश्वविद्यालय के सभी अधिकारियों, कर्मचारियों का भी हार्दिक धन्यवाद करता हूं, जो इस कार्यक्रम का हिस्सा बने। धन्यवाद।
कार्यक्रम के अध्यक्ष हमारे ऑनरेबल वाइस चांसलर प्रोफेसर नागेश्वर राव सर की अनुमति से यह कार्यक्रम संपन्न हुआ। आप सभी का बहुत बहुत आभार।